In this video, we are going to try and diagnose some of the corridor-related issues that we experienced in the last video. The main one being this side of the intersection being drugged down to elevation 0. And we'll go through a couple baseline edits. So if we change the center line of the road, what has to happen with the cul-de-sac and the knuckles. So we will go through that as well. And we'll see if we can try and clean up some of the triangular issues around these other intersections. But let's focus on the main one here. So right now I've got all my corridors and whatnot turned off, so I'm going to turn those back on. So in my layers, I'm going to turn on my corridors. Residential road and the C-core, which is all the intersections. And I'm also going to turn on the surfaces for my intersections. And again, if you name things properly, they'll come in properly here. So as we see here, I've removed this section from my corridor. So let's go ahead and add it back in. So just corridor properties, we'll turn it back on. We'll hit OK, we'll rebuild. And again, the surface related issue comes back. So if I hover over the surface over here, we get an elevation of 1095.364, and we can see that under the residential road Z value, the second line in that window. If I come and hover over here a little bit more, it highlights the surface and it says 83.149. So that's how I know that this is being drugged down to 0. And even if I did a object viewer on this, let's save this and give it a try, just to show you what this has actually done. And then that is a step in trying to help us find out, or trying to help us fix this. So object viewer, and if this doesn't crash, oh, there we go. So there is our intersection. So if I zoom in up here, we can tell here's the road, and then as soon as it gets to this corner, this curb return, transition from residential road to residential road, it is being drugged all the way down to 0 elevation. So we have a nice flat plane down here that we need to be up top. Now, generally when you have an issue like this in your corridor, it is caused by having no vertical baseline. So the baseline that was created for this knuckle itself, or not the knuckle, the curb return itself, it wasn't created properly. So I'm going to send these to the back, just draw order, send it back, so I can find the alignment in here. So this alignment here is our corridor alignment. This is what it's built off. So I just need to get the name of this. So this is curb return alignment, residential road intersection, southwest quadrant. So in order to start fixing this, I'm going to need to make a profile of this to see what is being built. So under profiles, I'm going to create a profile from a surface, and 64th Avenue, or residential road intersection, southwest quadrant. And I'm going to start adding a few things in. So we see there's one profile in the list here, but it has no information attached to it. So we have a minimum and a maximum elevation of 0. So this is what is causing our problem, is this one that is added here. So I'm going to add in my residential road. I'll add in my residential road intersection, and I'm going to change these to different styles just so I can see what's going on. Change one to existing ground, one to groundwater. This one I don't have the option of changing. East intersection, don't need to add. West, don't need to add. Existing ground, I probably don't need to add that one either. So I've added these two, and then this is the one that Civil 3D built. So we're going to click Draw Profile View, and I'm going to change this to 10 times vertical 20 meter station interval. And I'm just going to click Create Profile View. And I'm going to put it over to the side here because I don't know how tall it's going to be. And we just saw right there how tall it actually is. So which surface is this? This is probably the profile residential road intersection southwest quadrant, but if we go to properties, data source, residential road intersection, surface, it doesn't tell us which surface is actually being causing that. So let's go to the top of this profile. This is where our road needs to be. This is the line that Civil 3D automatically built for us. So this is fundamentally what is causing the problem, is this just did not get built properly. And again, it's nothing that I did. These types of things just happen. So I am going to start by deleting this. We don't need this broken piece and we can't do anything to it. So select it, delete it. It should rebuild your corridor and bring everything else down to 0. So this might have caused another issue with our intersection itself, and it looks like it did. So we'll have to fix that as well. So we have our road here. Now I need to find out the stations and the elevations that I need to tie into. So going back to my plan view and clicking on, let's do a quick regen here and freeze the corridors off. They just get in the way. So if I draw a polyline from the end of this arc, we'll do a second point, midpoint to the end of this. So this is the corner arc section of our curb return. This is what I need to define. So we need to know the stations and the elevation of the ground that we need to tie into at this specific spot. So how do we go about doing that? Well, let's look under Add Alignment Labels. We can add a station offset, single segment. Let's try station offset. So this will give us the station and the offset will just be 0. So I'm going to select this alignment. I'm going to snap to the end of this green line and we'll snap to the end of the green line again. So station 10.169, and we're going to do the same for the end over here. Just snap to the end of that twice, and that gives us station 31.518. So I'm going to open up a quick notepad file here and write these down. Notepad. So we got 10.169, 10.169, and then 31.518. So we are currently done with these labels, so we can get rid of them. The next label that we want to add in is an elevation label off our surfaces. So surfaces, add surface labels, spot elevation. I'm going to select my residential road intersection surface, and I'm going to drop one again on the end of this line and on the end of this line. So the end of the circle, the end of the circle. And that is where our problem is. So can I choose a different surface for that in order to get the number I need? So I'm going to go into label properties and I'm going to switch this surface to the, let's do residential road and see if that gives us a different number. Do a regen, and it did not. Okay, so turn on the residential road surface, make sure we're actually getting it, and oh yeah, the corridor has kind of destroyed itself in that section, so I need to come over here and add that piece back in. So I'm just going to edit profile geometry. I'm going to add a PVI just to the very end for now, which reattaches it, and then I can rebuild my corridors. So again, weird little bugs like this happen when we're in Civil 3D. And this one again is not named. I don't have a clue why. So I've rebuilt everything, and because that one surface has nothing to build on, we are currently getting some odd line work. It's close to what we want, but we want to be able to control it maybe a little bit better. So now I have surface definitions in here. So we have 1095.446. So 1095.446. And then with the 31, we have an elevation of 1095.111. So we're going to remember those two numbers. We're going to use them in a command here. I'm going to close my profile. Actually, I'm going to leave this one open. I believe I need that one open. No, that's Territorial Place. So I'm going to close that one. I'm going to come to this residential road intersection, southwest quadrant. And I'm going to use these numbers and sketch in a design line. So profiles, create profile by layout. Select this profile. I'm just going to name it residential road southwest design. We'll click OK. And all I want to do is draw tangents. So select the draw tangents, and we know the stations, we know the elevations. So there is what is called a transparent command for profile stations and elevations. So if you wanted to type in the command line PSE, or the apostrophe PSE, you can go for it, or you can click profile station elevation. So I'm going to select the profile station elevation. I'm going to select my profile view that I want to add it to. Now the station, 10.169, enter. My elevation, 1095.446. The second station I want is 31.518, enter, and 1095.111. And as you see, it has sketched a line there. So this is where my design line needs to go. Let's just increase our contour density to make sure. So edit surface style, contours. I'll just turn my intervals up momentarily, 0.01. And that looks to me like that is exactly what I want. So just turning the contour interval up, you can kind of see what's going on. So we're going to just add a new line from here to here. So now I'm going to turn my corridor piece back on through my layers, C-core. And I'm going to select this and go into corridor properties. Make sure you grab the actual corridor. Corridor properties, and this is the piece, and you can see here now we have no vertical baseline. So if we set this back up to our new design, okay, apply, rebuild, okay, we are still getting a little bit of an issue on the side here. So why, and even on this other side as well. So we'll come back over to the profile that we have drawn. Zoom in, and even though I typed some numbers in, it still seems to be causing a few issues. So I'm going to grip edit this to the end here, which has shrunk our profile down. And then I'm going to come over here and rebuild my corridor again. Do a quick regen. And that seems to have fixed that problem. Again, don't worry about these wavy contours. I'm at a 0.01 contour interval. And there might be a bit more cleanup that needs to take place, but let's just turn our contour interval back down. Edit surface style, contour intervals, 0.1. Okay. So that looks a little bit better. We don't have that massive hole going down to 0 elevation, but we do have some additional issues going on over here. So we'll go back to the profile and we'll take a look. And my quick guess is that this point should be down there. So again, I've just moved that momentarily. Rebuild this, and that looks much better. So I'm going to rename this right now, residential road intersection. So let's take a quick object viewer at this now. Well, let's save first. Give it a second here. And now we'll take a quick object viewer and see if that looks a little bit more like what we are wanting to see. Okay, that actually looks to me like it's dropping a little too far. So we need to do a little bit more diagnostics and fixing in here. So where does this end? Where is it causing a problem? So again, turn the contour interval back up, edit surface style, contour intervals, 0.01. And we can try and diagnose where this other issue is happening. So let's take a look in Object Viewer again and make sure I was looking at the right side. Object Viewer. So even looking at it from this side, we see we're a little bit steeper and a little bit steeper. So let's go and see if we can acquire those numbers again. Let's change the surface that we are reading off of with our elevations to spot elevations. I'm going to select my residential road instead of the intersection because that's what we're having problems with. We want endpoint. Okay, why did that not work? Surfaces, add surface labels, spot elevations, residential road, endpoint, residential road, endpoint. And I've got the surface layer turned off, so that's why it's not showing up. So let's just turn that surface layer on. Okay, so what is going on? We have our road coming up and going back down, but then this is our intersection road. So there's a little bit of wonkiness going on. So let's take a look at these cross sections and see if we can't diagnose what is happening here. So I'm going to rebuild everything actually. Rebuild that. Try rebuild all. Rebuild. Okay, so these are still going opposite directions. So that's what's residential road. Okay, so that makes sense. That is building that way. We don't have it defining anything in the middle. So we may have to just turn this off and try with the other surfaces. So 1095.367 this one is showing, but that's on our residential road, so we'll switch that. Label properties, try our intersection. We'll just delete the extra ones I've added. So 1095, 440. That's what I have before. And this one as well. $1,095.111. So those are the numbers I had before. Let's shift it down a little bit onto the actual, and we're out of the surface definition now, so we can't see an elevation there. So let's just re-add the labels, add surface label, spot elevation on the surface. We'll go right here. So 1094. So if I go a little bit farther, so that's 1094.961. If I go to there, 1094.963. So this is what's causing us a problem here. So this is what we need to fix. And I thought it was going to be a little bit easier than it has been. So let's just take our design line and let's try attaching it right to the end and right to the end. Just see what that causes. Close properties, and it's made one massive mess. So that is not what we need to do. Okay, let's extend this a little bit. And we'll come over here, we'll get the elevation off of this point here. So if we just go to there, so 1095, 446, which is what I had before. And we'll snap to here, 1094, 962. So that one is a little bit different. So I'm going to just write my numbers down over here. 94.962. 1095, 446. Let's also grab the stations so we can fix that as well. This is a little bit of a pain, but sometimes it's necessary. So that is station 9893, 9.893. And the station over here is 31,584. So a little bit longer extent. So let's go type those numbers in and see if it makes a difference. So select the line we drew, edit profile geometry, and I'm just going to do it through the profile grid view. I can change my stations in here. So 9.893 with an elevation of 1095, 446 to an ending station of 31.584 and an ending elevation of 1094.962. So that shortened the line down. It's gone from there to there. We'll go back to our corridor. We'll rebuild it and see if it's fixed our issue. Run an object viewer on the surface. And it's kind of hard to see, but if we go to the front view, so this line here, or this bottom corner, should be the same as this bottom corner. So under this green contour line here, we have 1, 2, 3 and a bit. Under this one, we have 1, 2, 3 and a bit. So that final step, and again, it's made our intersection a little odd in here, but we could go and fix that a little bit more, smooth it out. And it looks like in here we're having some more contour related issues, but this is a 0.01 contour interval, so it's not a huge deal here. We're just trying to extract the road, and I'm guessing it's just the angle that causes the problems that we're experiencing. Okay, let's do a little bit of tiny work on the line we've drawn and see if we can smooth this out a bit. We just don't want it to be this steep in here. So back to the profile, we want it to be a little bit more flat at the beginning and then get a little bit steeper as it goes around the corner. So I'm already in the Residential Road Southwest design. I'm going to add another PI, and we'll just put it about right there. We'll come back. We will rebuild our corridor, and it looks like it's smoothed it out a bit. Let's put a little bit steeper around the corner. So again, just a quick object viewer to see what it's looked like. And adding that PI in has made it look a lot better. So again, the angles of the road and the steepness of the terrain is my best guess at what has originally caused this issue. Civil 3D just had a hard time trying to solve it. So again, these things do come up. They do need to be fixed. And generating a profile and taking a look at what Civil 3D has created is probably the best way of trying to figure out what it's done. So that's how we figured out that it was built at elevation of 0. So I'm going to quickly delete these labels here. I'm going to rebuild the finalized road top surface and turn it back on. And we're going to run an object viewer on that. And I should have turned some of these contours off. And we're not going to worry about anything on the extents. We do have a bit of a little issue here to clean up. But overall, there's supposed to be a low point here. That's good. There's a couple little issues in here. Overall, Civil 3D has done a decent enough job at creating this for us. So we're going to close that. I'm going to turn off or lower this contour interval a little bit, 0.1, and we'll hit OK. So what is Civil 3D doing down here? It's creating a little bit of an issue in this spot. So this is one of the alignments I sketched. I'm going to come over to my cul-de-sac alignment, and I'm going to add in my profiles, create from surface, cul-de-sac, my residential road. I'll add that surface in, and I'm going to set that one to the groundwater so I can tell it apart. So draw on profile view, cancel. So when I added that in, my road surface should be up here. This one should be up here as well. So I've lowered this a little bit inadvertently. It could have been when I was adjusting one of my profiles. But if you adjust a profile, it's going to affect other stuff with it. So I'm going to raise that one up there. I'll raise this up a little bit here. We have 1.4% on those now. And if I look at the end of my cul-de-sac, it's running at about 2% downwards. So all we need to do is provide positive drainage to the end of the cul-de-sac. So if one is 1.4 and one is 2, again, probably not a huge deal. But let's go and make this one 2.09, just so we can have some consistency. So close that tool. We'll select that one, edit profile geometry. I'm going to select the profile grid view, and we'll go minus 2.09. So we'll make it 2.09 down, 2.09 up. Come back over, rebuild my residential road, rebuild finalized road top, And there we now have a consistent, even slope to the end of the cul-de-sac. Go take a look over here, and our groundwater line should be matching our design line now. So they should be overlaid on top of each other. And again, you can delete it if you want to delete this groundwater line, go for it. You can also keep it in there to help not confuse you. Okay, so the final thing we need to fix, and we're not going to have time to clean up some of these little triangles, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not a huge issue. So the last thing that, again, we need to fix is the median here. Now, the median ends where this green circle is, which is about, let's do a quick measurement, 5.7 meters away from where Civil 3D originally put it when we built the intersection. Now this one is relatively simple, and we have to do it 4 times. So we can select the intersection corridor, and we're just going to grip edit it. So I'm going to drag this grip to the midpoint of this circle. So we have moved that section now a little bit, but it leaves us with some open space around our sidewalk here. Now, if I rebuild this surface, we can see how it causes a problem. So again, we'll select the corridor, and there's a grip here for the sidewalk region. I'm going to snap to the end of this line. So I'm just tying them back together. And yes, the curbs don't quite line up. That's because these two roads have slightly separate curbs. The residential one, we want vehicles to be able to drive up it. It's a little bit wider. This one, vehicles don't drive up it. So it's the straight face curb. So they would match these up in construction. So to rebuild it, we have a few contour triangle related issues. But again, let's not worry about that. Let's get the road built here. This side we're going to do the same. I'm going to make sure you click on the grip. Midpoint of the circle. Take this, go to the end point. A quick rebuild. Again, some minor triangle issues. And we'll do the same with this one. Midpoint. Drag and drop. Yep, went a little too far. And the same with this side. Midpoint. Endpoint. Let's go ahead and rebuild all our corridors. Rebuild our finalized road top. And again, it's not 100% pretty, but we no longer have a median going into our road. So let's do a quick object viewer on this. And just take a look and see kind of what Civil 3D has done. So let's cut the median back. Again, we could make feature lines for this. We can make it look a little bit nicer. But that would take a lot of extra time. And again, these are just little triangle issues. But overall, this is portraying what we want it to. And this is what we'll be using for our design here. Now, one last thing. Because we've pasted all these surfaces together, we cannot easily get rid of these extra triangles or these extra contour lines. There's no way to put a corridor boundary on it, and there's a reason why my assemblies have a little bit extra piece on the end. So if I come to an assembly, and I'll just show you that now, I would go ahead and put these on all of them. If I come into my, I'll just go to plain old properties, assembly properties here. Select it. And I've got that bug where you can't select anything. So let me pause, save, and restart. Okay, I'm back. I kicked it through so I can select it. So this little piece is just a tiny little basic lane with a width of 0.25, no depth, and the slope that matches the sidewalk. So a little bit of a slope. Now what I'm using this piece for is when we go to design our lots, we will tie into this point here. And if we cut our surface off here, we have no surface definition. So this little piece, even though it's not a part of our road, will make our life that much easier when we go to design our lots. We tie into here, we can pull the information from the surface, and then just grade as we see fit. If this piece isn't here, you can try snapping to lines. It might not work. You might not get the surface information. So I've just thrown a little 0.25 meter wide lane on the ends of all of my assemblies. So every outer piece of my assembly where there's a sidewalk has this added to it. So now that we have that added to it, we can come in and clean these triangles up a little bit, or the contours up a little bit, and remove the definition, as it just looks bad right now. So we'll select our surface, go into surface style, go under display, turn on triangles, and hit OK. Now give this a minute. Civil 3D is displaying a whole bunch of information. I'm going to rebuild everything and make sure it's all good. Rebuild. And we want to remove these extra unneeded triangles. So there's a couple ways of doing this, and we'll see if the easy way works. So we're going to select our surface, right click, go into surface properties. Under the definition tab, build, we want to use a maximum triangle length of say 10 meters. We'll give that a try. So surface properties, definition tab, use maximum triangle length, yes, of 10. It might cause some issues in our cul-de-sac, but we'll see. So we'll click OK and rebuild the surface. And sometimes it doesn't even work. So that has not given us what we want. So surface properties, build. So let's just try a couple of additional numbers and see if it makes a difference. 15 doesn't work. 20 doesn't work. What about 50? So again, sometimes this doesn't work, the maximum triangle length. So I'm going to set it back to no, and we'll have to do it the hard way. So we'll have to delete the triangles manually. So in our tool space under finalize road top, definition, edits, I'm going to right click and I'm going to be deleting lines. Now this command will take a while. We have a whole bunch of triangles, and I don't suggest selecting everything at once. I'll select the little section, hit enter. Zoom in, select the little section, hit enter. And we'll repeat for all of the triangles, or as many of them as we can get, that are in the middle where our roads are not. And again, if you don't get them all, it's not a huge deal. Just try and clean up as many as you can. So I'm going to continue doing that, and I'll be back. Alright, so that's with all my triangles removed now. And as you can see, it's a much cleaner looking surface. There's no contour lines going through the middle. I'll go back into my surface style and I'll turn the triangles back off. We'll do one quick last object viewer on it just to take a quick look at what it looks like now, all cleaned up. And in essence, we have our design road now. So what we've done, we've taken our horizontal alignments, we've taken our vertical profiles, and we've defined a road from it. Is it 100% perfect at this point? No, but we don't have time to take it to that 100% perfect. There's numerous other things we could do to this to clean up some of these triangles, clean up some of these medians, make sure everything slopes and flows properly. But generally this is what Quick Design will be looking for. This is what we have time to do. So again, is it perfect? No. But we could spend 50, 60, 70 hours trying to make it perfect, and we just don't have that kind of time. So this was the final video on kind of cleaning up your corridor, making some edits, trying to track down issues, find out where the issues are coming from. Is there going to be additional issues that pop up? Possibly. So it's all hunt it down, see if you can diagnose what happened, what went wrong. This one here, with this section being drugged down to elevation 0, that is purely from experience. That's how I knew that one. So again, just work at it, get the corridor built. As long as it looks similar to this, I would say that's good.